Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And Enhancement Shaman Thrall is back. This is a specialization that is the most improved for 9.2, in my opinion, in terms of competitive viability, build options, and just general fluidity improvements and quality of life changes to the specialization. Enhancement Shaman, I think this may be your patch, your return to glory. And I am very excited to cover what I think of the SPEC moving into patch 9.2. I think in PvE, it is getting a dramatic improvement. In PvP, you are likely to get more viable build options, more builds aimed towards sustained damage and outside of the Doom Winds legendary, which, let's be real, these have been major points of feedback for the specialization in PvE and PvP, and it really opens up now a new buffet of talents to consider that you may not have considered in the past. So Enhancement Shaman is definitely up there, and having just boosted one on my retail account and now jumping over to the PTR, I'm actually maybe even considering playing one because it is just so fantastic. So the set bonuses that you're going to get to look forward to that are going to increase that viability is your 2-set. Spending Maelstrom Weapon has a 3% chance per stack to summon Feral Spirits for 9 seconds, and your 4-set will be your Feral Spirits attacks have a chance to trigger Stormbringer, resetting the cooldown of your Storm Strike, so you're not just kind of always sitting there pedaling your feet, waiting for a button to press. You're probably just going to be mashing out a ton of Storm Strikes. It is in my best estimation, and after having concluded some research, that for PvE, we are likely to see Night Fae Enhancement Shamans, and I think this is, again, going to be the synergies of legendaries like Witch Doctor's Wolf Bones, increases the chance to gain a stack of Maelstrom Weapon by 3%, and whenever you gain a stack of Maelstrom Weapon, the cooldown of Feral Spirits is reduced by 2 seconds. Aiming the cooldown reduction towards your Feral Spirits, along with the Covenant-specific legendary, which is each pulse of Fey Transfusion's damage effect, reduces the cooldown of Fey Spirits by 9 seconds and increases your critical strike chance. So getting your Feral Spirits down to a very low cooldown. There's another talent, Elemental Spirits, reduces the cooldown of Feral Spirits by an additional 30 seconds and causes them to be imbued with extra effects. And if you're paired up with a Night Fae Priest, they can toss Fey Guardians over to you and give you basically another 30 seconds off of your Spirit Wolf build. And this is what I meant by completely new and interesting build opportunities for the game. I was actually considering bringing this build into PvP if you're playing with a priest and just having permanent wolves. Just seeing, can I get as many wolves as a demo lock can get imps? Because all of those wolves are then going to be feeding us more procs and more damage for more wolves. And we might just be able to overwhelm the entire screen with an army of wolves. That seemed like a lot of fun. I'm expecting that to be the build for PvE, maybe bringing it into PvP. But the more standard build, I think, for PvP is likely going to be Venthyr with the Chain Harvest. And now you're going to have the additional effect that your Chain Harvest will have its cooldown reduced by your Flame Shock critical strikes by 1 second. And now in patch 9.2, due to our AoE improvements that we can see on the training dummies here, we can press Flame Shock, Lava Lash, and get that spread to a bunch of different targets, and we can quickly get that Chain Harvest on a very low cooldown if there are a lot of targets to spread that Flame Shock to in PvP. So if you're cleaving this onto pets, if you're cleaving this onto just any random target, all of the Kevins, whatever, you're getting Flame Shocks on as many targets as possible, you're going to start to reduce the cooldown of that Chain Harvest by a significant margin, which is probably one of the hardest hitting attacks and heals in the game at the moment. So it's going to give you a big spike way more frequently. I'm imagining that the Ellie Blast build is also likely to be very competitive with this option, and you still can run Doom Winds when Doom Winds will be applicable. So if a team is unable to stop you from that Wind Fury go, it's probably still going to be very powerful and potent, but it's going to give you some flexibility into the teams that would just otherwise really counterpick you. There was some other opportunities to potentially run Hot Hand and focus in on Lava Lash. And I was wondering if this would actually end up being anything. So running the Potency Conduit, Lava Lash has a 20% additional critical strike chance against enemies with Flame Shock. Running Hot Hand to have chances to reduce its cooldown and increase the damage of it. And just stacking a bunch of modifiers around Lava Lash, specifically the Primal Lava Actuators. Flame Shock periodic damage increases the damage of your next Lava Lash by 12% and reduces its cooldown. And I was wondering if there might be an opportunity for Lava Lash in PvP, probably more specifically than PvE, to just be kind of this sustained damage, just shoving out as many of these lava lashes as you can onto a single target, proccing them over, and trying to ramp up as much damage as possible, which was one of my third build opportunities that I saw here. But you're also receiving buffs to your conduits, you're receiving buffs to your frost shock damage. They've removed frost shock from being on cooldown with flame shock, so now you can more evenly weave and get your dots up and still snare a target before it gets away from you, which is a big quality of life improvement for PvP, to say the least. Not being able to slow and also keep your dot on a target was probably one of the most frustrating mechanics, and this is why I really think that like Enhance in 9.2, this is the biggest improvements to quality of life. We're seeing other conduits getting buffed, where you're going to be getting more healing from your Maelstrom weapon stacks. They were buffing that significantly, so you're going to be getting more healing output. They've reduced the mana cost on a lot of your damaging spells, so then you can put that mana into healing or into purges. That's going to help you obviously a lot more in PvP specifically, but quality of life for Enhancement Shaman has improved dramatically. They really definitely looked at improving it. If you're wondering in 9.2 if nothing was really changed or nothing's been moved around too much, I think Enhancement Shaman is the beneficiary of a lot of those changes, and maybe it was just forgotten about because all the Enhancement Shamans re-rolled at this point to something else. But now in 9.2, I think everything else might be re-rolling back into the Enhancement Shaman because it is looking just so fantastic. I actually do kind of like the set with the kind of the spirit wolf vibe going on with it, the fact that you're just going to be summoning a whole bunch of wolves out onto the fight the whole time, and I think that cooldown reduction build to your spirit wolves could be super fun. I actually really want to try it personally, especially in PvE, just to try and see how much AoE damage and how many wolves can we get out onto the fight and how many procs can we get going into the fight. Like, you're just always having a button to press now. Your screen is just pretty much always lighting up, so you always have something to do. It doesn't feel like you've just got any dead time like I was actually experiencing the first time that I picked it up on retail, literally just yesterday. It felt like there's sometimes you were left with global starving, but now you're going to be able to keep up with AoE damage. There's possibility for Fire Nova to come back. Likely we see Hailstorm return in PvE with how many damage buffs we've seen towards Frost Shock. And we're going to see Enhancement Shamans just really crashing the scene for patch 9.2, whether it be PvP or PvE, although you will likely need to have two setups, and that is quite a bit of legendary building if you really want to fish through all of these different opportunities and builds. But now we can't complain that Doom Winds is the only thing we can go for in PvP, and now in PvE we can actually have some AoE output that's going to be ramping up a bit more immediately than it has in the past. But Enhancement Shaman actually looks spectacular. I'm very excited to try it myself, see what the Enhancement Shaman mains think about it. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts about Enhancement Shaman. Is this something now that has caught your attention, caught your eye? Because I feel like it's something that was flying under the radar as far as being noticed and kind of just being ignored at this point. We're going to see competitive viability with their stat distribution as well now, with a lot of the focus of these set bonuses being around nature damage. Mastery becomes a bit more viable of an option, so your stat priorities might shift around, but if you're venting PvP, crit is also going to have some viability to try and reduce the cooldown of the chain harvest. So it's going to be an interesting patch to experiment, try new things, have different builds, getting a bunch of buffs, getting a bunch of quality of life improvements. Enhancement Shaman is definitely a go-to in my mind now for patch 9.2. But again, let me know in the comments down below your thoughts. What do you think? Is this enough to sell you on it? Are you going to be jumping onto the Enhancement Shaman bandwagon or not? And if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date with patch changes and updates of the like, I do update them here live in real time onto my YouTube channel. So just hit the subscribe button. If you want to jump over to my twitch.tv/Supatease, I'm streaming there every day as well, doing viewer games, 0 to Heroes, and at the moment really focused hard on pushing for rank 1. But other than that, thank you very much for watching the video. I will see you in the next one.